I would much rather you see it on your own on the screen. First video.
Third and bronze medalist representing India.
Troisième et médaille de bronze représentant l'Inde.
Leander Paes.
The essence of life is to do something that's greater than yourself, and that is playing for your country. I think that when you play for 1.2 plus billion people, it's a great sense of responsibility. My dream has always been to put India on the map.
You always try to welcome me with a smile in the locker room, always give me great advices, and it was just such an honor to always be surrounded by you.
When he played, that was like a ninja playing, it's two person at the net. He's here and then he's there, and then I don't know who is who. He was probably the fastest tennis player at the net by far.
He was so much fun to play against, and I thought I would much rather play with him than against him.
Simply brilliant. He anticipates so well, one of the best ballers in the world. So fast, so accurate. He reads the game well. He's great for the crowd. He has great energy. Court awareness, it's unbelievable.
There's no words for Leander. I mean, he's almost like my brother,
That's phenomenal. That is entertainment. Oh, what an extraordinary exchange.
Hardly ever have you seen a rally like this.
To go in there and enjoy the hard work day in and day out is something that I take very seriously, and very proud to be an Indian and play for the country every time I step out.
So that is Leander Paes, ladies and gentlemen. We are proud to be Indians if we have sportsmen like this from our country. Joining him on stage this evening are also two great legends. Mr. Joydeep Mukherjee, legendary tennis player, and Mr. Arun Lal, a legendary cricketer. May I please request Leander, Joydeep Da and Arun to come onto the dais. I will request Shaila to now introduce or say something more about Joydeep Da and Arun.
Good evening, friends. I am really honored that I am getting this opportunity to talk about all these sporting legends, and I'm so glad to see them all together at the Saturday Club. All of us over here, sports lovers, playing our small little slice of sport, and when we can be so competitive at our, I don't even know, I can't even say, when I look at them, what we do is not even micro for them. So seeing these guys over here, right here in the flesh, of course, I can't say Mr. Mukherjee. It's always been Jaideep uncle for me. Coming from a tennis playing family, I think I've watched them play. I've had the privilege of actually knowing them personally. Growing up, I've been watching him play. So I can't say Jaideep uncle in the flesh, but I see you a lot in the flesh. But for everybody else, I mean, and of course, Leander went to school together for a bit. But the thing is that what they've achieved in sport, I mean, watching your AV really brought tears to our eyes. I mean, what sports can do. We think it's just a game you're playing. But what you can achieve with sports is unbelievable. So I think it would be very important. I don't think any of these gentlemen here really need an introduction. But that is something, that is a box that must be ticked. So I'm sure all of you know what I'm saying, but I don't think you would mind hearing this again. So first and foremost, Mr. Jaideep Mukherjee, the man who was part of the first ever Indian squad to have reached the finals of the Davis Cup, also the Davis Cup captain. See, when you play Grand Slams, yes, your country is announced, but when you play Davis Cup, then you're representing the country. So there is so much pride in that. And Uncle played at a time when sports were not given their rightful place. We were still a new nation, so to say, after our independence. And our sports persons really had to struggle. So at that time, so far back, to actually be able to achieve those accolades was much, much more difficult and a much larger task than probably it is now. I mean, I think now India recognizes and respects and invests in their sports people much, much more than it was at their time. So Mr. Jaideep Mukherjee, not only part of the squad for Davis Cup that reached the finals, the first ever squad to reach the finals, also the Davis Cup captain. He has himself played all the Grand Slams in tennis, be it the French Open, the Wimbledon, the US Open, the Australian Open, and he has not just played, but reached the last 16. He is an Arjuna awardee himself. He has been awarded with the ITF, I think you, Uncle, please correct me if I'm wrong, the ITF Lifetime Achievement Award for tennis. And I mean, he is the vice chairman of the, he's the chairman of the All India Tennis Association. He was, I mean, of course, when we say, see, no one can take that away from you, right? So, I mean, he has achieved the pinnacles of success in tennis. So, a big round of applause. I mean, I don't think what we do here, his achievements span decades and a lifetime, and he's still very, very actively involved with tennis and with the sport, and he's molding a lot of new players and making tennis a game to be reckoned with even today. So he has a huge, has had and is having still today a huge contribution to the world of Indian tennis. So Jaideep Mukherjee for you. The next gentleman that I need to speak about, I mean, again, in a cricket mad country where I think billions of children, and now it's not only boys, I can proudly say children, even girls are now wanting to become cricketers. And in a cricket mad country where cricket is worship, cricketers are gods, I think Arun Lal is a name that all of us are aware of and know, and someone that we respect because of his contribution to Indian cricket. Mr. Lal started off his journey, his education was done at Mayo College, Ajmer, and at St. Stephen's, Delhi. And he joined his debut. He joined the Indian Test squad in 1982, making his debut against the team of Sri Lanka. He has played and rubbed shoulders with and been part of the team with the likes of Mr. Sunil Gavaskar and Mr. Vengsarkar. So he's played cricket at the ultimate level with players who are revered as gods. And his contribution again to the world of sport, to the world of Indian sport, is outstanding. He has also faced a lot of, once he retired from the international forum, he was well known as a commentator, but he has actually, the man you see here today, I'm sharing this, sir, is someone who has gone through tremendous challenges on the personal front. He has survived cancer, and we still see him here standing tall. He survived that, and he is back strong. He's also been conferred with the Lifetime Achievement Award by the Cricket Association of Bengal, and is has served as the president of the very dear to us, the Calcutta Cricket and Football Club. He has been the president of the Calcutta Cricket and Football Club. The Arun Lal Cricket Academy is something that anyone who has a child who's played cricket would probably have at some point in time put their child there, because he's still doing that. And I think that is what is wonderful. You play the sport, you earn your accolades from the sport, but I think the most important part is what you give back to the sport once you're done with your journey there and you take on your status as a mentor. So it's wonderful to see both these gentlemen here. And of course, the man of the hour, Leander. I think I'll hand over the mic back to Vibhash to take that forward.
Thank you, Chela. I will now request the sports convener, Mr. Vinesh Hira, to please present a bouquet of flowers to Joydeep Da. Tejbir Bhandari, an avid sportsman himself, joint convener in the Art and Culture Committee. He will present the bouquet to Mr. Arun Lal. And now may I request our President, Mr. Shai Gupta, and Vice President Sanish Megan to please come up and do the presentation of the bouquet to Mr. Leander Paes. So careful. Mr. Ravi Khetri, forever green. So यहाँ जाइए. Now we'll get back to what this evening is all about Leander being inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame in the players category. He is the only Indian to have reached that place. And that is a huge, huge feat that he has achieved and makes us all very proud. And to further emphasize on that, we'll go through a short video on his induction ceremony.
Leander, it was truly my honor to play against you. I enjoyed it a lot more when I played with you. You have done your family proud. You have done our sport proud. And most of all, you've done India proud. Congratulations. Right now, I would like to invite Ayana, your daughter, to come present your induction.
It is my greatest honor to be on this stage. You know, playing for 1.4 billion people could either be pressure or it could be wind within your wings. I'd like to thank every single one of my countrymen who supported me, who stood by me through all the ups and downs, and we've been through a few. But y'all were the inspiration, y'all were the support, y'all were even the strength to guide me through when I didn't believe. I think the International Hall of Fame is one of the greatest institutions in the world, and they do great work. I humbly request that we use our sport of tennis to inspire 250 million children across the world over the next 15 years and make our world a better place to live. Jai Hind, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to invite our President, Mr. Shahid Gupta, our Vice President, Mr. Sanish Magon, and our convener, Mr. Vibhaskar Chlu for Art and Culture, to please come forward and felicitate our living legend, Sir Leander Paes. May we have a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. I would also like to request our President, Mr. Shahid Gupta, to please do a small felicitation for Mr. Arun Lal and Jaideep Uncle. And our Vice President, Sanish.
Leander, the evening is yours now, and I'm sure everybody is waiting for you to speak. Whatever comes to your mind, whatever you wish to say to Saturday Club members, we'll be happy to listen to you. And thereafter, Arun Lal and Jaideep Da will start up a conversation with you.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for braving the weather, the traffic, and making it here this evening. It means a lot to me. Thank you. To our President, Vice President, fellow Martinian, the committee of all the sports at Saturday Club, I'd like to humbly thank you for this wonderful felicitation, especially with two of my heroes who I get to share with. Saturday Club has always meant community to me. When I was a young boy of about 5, 6, 7 years old, my father and I would play the parent and child tennis tournament here at Saturday Club. Dad was invariably running late, coming from his medical appointments. Mr. Mustafi was the referee, and I'd always be pulling at his coattails, saying, give me 10 more minutes, Dad'll be here. Give me 5 more minutes, Dad'll be here. And then at the end of the week, we were lucky enough to hold the parent and child trophy up 3 times here on the tennis courts at Saturday Club. Back then, my dad was a really good tennis player, and I was 6, 7, 8 years old, and he used to carry me. My youth here in Calcutta has taught me a lot about culture, sport, but the most important thing it's taught me is about the love of community. I believe that the clubs in Calcutta, especially here at Saturday Club, a sporting community comes together to share together. I believe that this is the essence of where young budding athletes can grow. I want to bow my head and thank one of my heroes that I looked up to, Uncle Jaideep, who I call Sir Jaideep, because he was the original serve and volleyer when I was growing up. He always looked fantastic in his tennis outfit, shirt always tucked in, walked with a swagger. He used to flick his hair back then when I was a kid. And he always wielded the volleys so well that I found that style of tennis very attractive. So when I'd come to South Club and watch him play, I would always learn the nuances of how a tennis player can play fast, quick tennis. But I want to thank Uncle Jaideep because not only was he my Davis Cup captain, not only was he the captain of the Olympic team when I won my bronze medal in Atlanta, but he was actually, him and his brother, Uncle Chirudeep, were the ones who approached my father as a kid and said, I think your sons should play tennis. At that age, at about 5, 6 years old, I was more a footballer. I loved going to the Maidan where Dad would play for Mohan Bagan, and I'd learned the nuances of how to kick a ball. But when I came to South Club, Uncle Chirudeep bought me my first tennis racket, and Uncle Jaideep really encouraged my dad to put me into tennis. So I wouldn't be who I am today without this man, and I'd like to thank him for that. My other hero growing up was Sir Arun Lal. Because not only was he the best dressed athlete on the field, he's also the best dressed man in the room today. I have looked up to you, Uncle Arun, since I was a little boy. When you played five-a-side hockey with Dad, five-a-side football with Dad, you played cricket, I was the little kid who'd always say, Uncle Arun, here are your pads. Uncle Arun, here's your bat. You know, when he'd finish, I'd be here, have some squash because you can run more in the second half. I was that little annoying kid who'd always be at his coattails, wanting to learn every single thing I could. I'd like to thank you for not only being a great athlete for our country and a great patriot, but also for being my North Star, because you taught me how to do it. The class of these two men were not that they were just great athletes in their sport, but also they're great human beings. They taught us young kids that you could also be a good gentleman and also be a rugged athlete. In a generation where Indian athletes were not known to be rugged, we were known to be more submissive. Most people that have only watched me play tennis are a bit fearful of coming up and saying hello. Because I wouldn't let anybody take my lunch money. But I learned that from these two gentlemen. I want to thank you both for being here today. I want to thank Auntie Charmaine for looking after Uncle Jaideep, because he means the world to me. And what you do for him and his family, I have a lot of respect for. Thank you for looking after my champion. I want to thank Auntie Bulbul for not just the best khana back at home, but also for looking after my hero. What you do for his family, we know all too well, and you are quite my champion. Thank you. I wouldn't be who I am without my mom and my dad. My mom, Juliana, not just made sure that my tiffin was nice and warm when I went to school at La Martinia, not just made sure that all my clothes were ironed and in place, not just made sure that every time I had a lonely evening and I would cry because I'd be away from home for 38 odd years, she would be the first one on the phone when I lost. When I won, I couldn't find them. They were always somewhere else. But I want to thank you, Juliana, for being the rock of our family, for teaching us that how the strength of our Indian family is what achieves success. I'd like to thank you for what you do for Dad and for me. This evening, I'd like to give thanks to my father in a little different way. Because my dad was not just my North Star, he was not just the hero that I wanted to emulate, he was not just the champion of sport that I wanted to emulate. It's another factor that he told me that I could only sit at the dining table if I won an Olympic medal. And when I won that Olympic medal, he says, now you got to go be a doctor as well. But today, Dad, I was walking through the Saturday Club here, and I remembered the time when I was that 6, 7-year-old kid who'd be sitting on the stairs of the tennis court waiting for you to come for a match. And then as a young boy, I would be so upset that you were running late. But today I realize how much time and effort and passion you put into my career. The fact that you gave time away from your medicine, gave time away from all the other things that you were managing. My 2 sisters, our house, earning a living, your other commitments. But you took the time, even when I was nothing, when I was 6, 7 years old, and you gave me that time every single day. You showed up to South Club at 2:15 every afternoon and watched me for 1 hour. You showed up to Saturday Club and played every match that we needed to play to win. You actually showed up every single time that I asked for you. And when I was looking for you when I won, you always sat in the back. Couldn't quite get it then, but I get it today. That sometimes being that rock, being that strength, that solidity of showing up every single day for the people that you love. I'd like to thank you for being who you are as a human being and for being who you are as a father. You know, in Calcutta, we've had some greats. I can talk about Jaideep Mukherjee, Premjit Lal, Uncle Ajit Lal, who I love and respect so much. You can talk about Akhtar Ali, Zishan Ali, talk about Saurav Ganguly, you can talk about Arun Lal, and the list just goes on and on. But I really feel the culture of our club life in Calcutta is what make our children who they are. As I look around this room, I can see a few of my contemporaries, I can see a few young ones, I can see my friends who've come back to Calcutta to look after family too, just as I have. But we've actually gone far and wide around the world, not just representing India, but also representing our city of joy. To Saturday Club, to Tejbir, the Vice President, President, the whole committee, thank you for letting this young kid play on your tennis courts since I was 4, 5, 6 years old. Because here is where I got my passion for tennis. They have a little surprise for you a little later. I used to play an hour and a half of tennis every day against a wall Why? To build my arms and my tendons and my muscles every single day. When the other kids would not want to put in that amount of time after practice, I would come to Saturday Club and I'd hit against that wall hour after hour after hour. So much so that the yellow tennis ball would turn black. I'd like to thank you all in advance for what you all have done. I have not played tennis much for the last 3.5 years. I needed a mental break away from it. When you do something for 39 years, 24 hours a day, you live, breathe, and eat and sleep tennis, I needed a bit of a mental break, not just a physical break, because life can burn you out sometimes. You need to rejuvenate. But now that the tennis courts are up and running again, I'm back at it. I started playing again a couple days ago right here. And I just felt like that young little kid having so much fun again. Looking at the lines of the tennis court, looking at the wall, looking at the beautiful lights we have here. I'm literally a stone's throw away from here. From my bedroom balcony, I can see the tennis courts. And for any of you members who either want to have a hit or want to have a chat, I'll be here more often. And I'll play some more tennis in the place that I grew up, the Saturday Club. I'm on a new mission. I'm on a mission that, in a world today that is so vulnerable, where wars seem to be like a commonality. Wars are breaking down in the Ukraine, in Russia, in Gaza, in Israel, China, on all our borders around India. I feel that sport is a way to unite our people, regardless of religion, culture, caste, or dialect that we speak, regardless of how we look and what differences that we have as people. Sport is a way to unite people. And as much today, if I did nothing for the rest of my life and just relaxed and looked after my family and myself, I've earned that, right? But I've got a passion to get 250 million children playing sport in our country. I feel that through our club culture in Calcutta, you remember the Saturday Club Carnival. I remember the Saturday Club Carnival so much. I would go swim, play badminton, then they would go and watch them play squash, then I'd play tennis. Now I've even heard you play tennis ball cricket on our lovely tennis courts. It's another conversation altogether. But for all the people that I grew up with, I met here for the first time, I'd like to thank you all for supporting me as a young child. But now I'd like to give back. And through Saturday Club and through the committee and the vice president and the president, I would love to come and encourage the young children to take up sport. I would enjoy drinking some tea with you and looking at ways on how this wonderful induction of the International Tennis Hall of Fame, I've become a spokesperson for the Hall of Fame globally now, on how maybe we can bring some of those great athletes here to Saturday Club. Because when I grew up watching Arun Lal do his magic, I wanted to be like him. When I grew up watching Jaideep Mukherjee do his magic, I wanted to be like him. When I grew up watching Uncle Ajit and Uncle Premji do their magic, I wanted to be like them. One day maybe our children can watch a Martina Navratilova play here, or a Martina Hingis play here, and maybe want to be like them. I extend my hand in collaboration with the Saturday Club to make something like that happen for all of you members. On saying that, I would again like to thank you very much for this wonderful honor to be here in front of you with my two heroes, my dad, my mom, family, people I grew up with. And I hope we all can come together to make our community, our city, and our club a safe haven, a happy place for both men and women, for young boys and girls, where they can come and play freely safely, we can all protect them, and more importantly, give them a place where they can all be champions just like us. I thank you for being so gracious in this today, and I look forward to that cup of tea to make Saturday Club even greater than what it is. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I'm very emotional today because Leander spoke so well for all of us. It's a great feeling to have someone you've coached or you played with be and talk so much about you. A lot of water has passed through the bridges with him. We have seen ups and downs. Let's start when Leander was a young kid. He used to go on a cycle with his bearer. And what's this guy's name? Liaquat. And Liaquat used to take him all around Calcutta. DAI, CCFC, South Club, Saturday Club, all over. Just to, he used to play football, hockey, tennis. Then when we were playing a tournament in DKS, I remember Wes came across to me and says, what do you think of Leander? He was about 7 or 8 years old. I said, he's a natural athlete. And I saw him hit the tennis ball and football. At any game he plays, he'll be good at, which is quite true, what he has been doing. First of all, when I saw him play, he was very quick, as always. He has fantastic reflexes, the hand-eye coordination, which I think is the best in the world, any sport. And if he had, I was thinking to myself the other day, if IPL had come now, then Leander wouldn't have been playing tennis. He'll be a top player with his reflexes. So it's tennis's gain and IPL's loss, whatever. I don't know, his loss maybe. But that's the first. Secondly, which is the second part of our team, when we went to the Bat Academy in Chennai with David O'Meara as coach, they did really well, but he had to get better and better. He started his Davis Cup career at the age of 16 and against Japan. And I still remember I was commentating. I was not the captain that time. Naresh Kumar was the captain. But he won a doubles match, I think 16-14 in the fifth set, 18-16 in the fifth set. They won that match. So I said, this guy's got something in him which will take him through. And then when I became a Davis Cup captain, when Ramesh retired as a player, he was the mainstay. There was 3 of them. We had a rookie team. And the first match we played was against the US in Delhi with Jim Courier and Todd Martin and all these guys, the top best players. Leander did well, we lost the tie, but there was a bond among us to do better and better. Next time we go to Jaipur to play off against South Africa in October. And I think one of the best matches, singles matches I've seen him play, when he beat Wayne Ferreira. At that time, I think Wayne was 6 or 7 in the world. Amazing. Then another good match, when he played against Jan Simmering, the Dutch team, which we beat in Jaipur. They had Krajcik in the team. In serving for the match in the 4th or 5th set, first point, we got a penalty point for the crowd. That means he was serving love 15. The crowd, because the Davis Cup rule is that if you can't control the crowd, the home team loses a point. So serving for the match, love 15. I mean, they had a big argument, but the referee did not agree. But he won that match. Went on to win the tie. So that's how great he was as a singles player. No one knows. We all talk about Grand Slam doubles. That was great, fantastic. But as a singles player, In fact, I was telling Arun, I think earlier on, he was born in the era when backhand was one-handed backhand was changing. So we all had a one-handed slice backhand of topspin. The first good players to play one double-handed were Agassi and Courier, and now everyone is playing double-handed. If that time Leander had switched to double-handed at that age of 15 or 14 or whatever, today he will be an unbeatable player in singles. He will have won 4 or 5 singles Grand Slams. Believe me, I really think like that. He is an amazing guy, very good teammate. I remember when the earlier Davis Cup team, when he got into the team, there was a certain amount was left for the players. Before Leander, the team, the top player got everything, and the third and fourth player got nothing. There was no sort of rule. Thanks to Leander and his dad Wes, they said, no, we have to set a rule. Every player will get certain one. Now one gets 20%. So he's the one who gave the prize money, whatever had happened, for the younger lot of players, had helped them. I thank him for that. He's really nice of a guy who can do that. Another person who carried it on was Somdev Devbarman, but I don't know the situation now. But he started it, he felt it, and the doubles, I'm quite proud to say that I am the person, because as Davis Cup, we had no team. Mahesh was a rookie, and he's coming up, and he's playing well. So I spoke to Leander. I said, why don't you play some doubles tournament with Mahesh? He was a senior player. He could have said no. I said, okay, so I'll try. And that's the start of the combination. Believe me, that's how it started, and he encouraged Mahesh today to be, and they became in the Indian Express, and they could have done a lot of things together. They have done a lot of things, they could have gone further. Unluckily, they missed another Olympic medal in Athens, which they had match point and lost. So that's the guy he is. He's a street fighter, he's a fighter, he won't give up. Another incident is when he was won the junior Wimbledon. I met him in the first round, I was there, and I said, what do you think? How's your draw? He said, I don't care for the draw, uncle, I'll win the tournament. So I said, he was not even seeded. There was top juniors from the US and Europe. So I said, yeah, this guy must be joking or telling my friend. And he won the tournament. And thanks to that tournament, I nearly lost this finger. The mishit of the ball came and hit my finger here, and the finger came down. And luckily the physio there said, go to the dressing room, and they tied it up, they stitched it up. Otherwise I would have a bent finger all my life. But that was okay, worth it, because Leander was a charisma guy. He's got I can go on talking about it, more and more about him, but these are a few things that come to my mind. I hope he gives back a lot to the game of tennis, which he has done so much already for our country. Just give it back to our youngsters. Like he said, his ambition is to make 250 million children play sports. I'm always there to help you, Leander, whatever you need. Arun is also there. So before I say anything, I'd like to thank Dr. Paes. Because that's the reason I'm walking. No, that's the reason I'm walking. In 2009 Commonwealth Games, 2010 Commonwealth Games, I suddenly had a bad back in training. I was a coach. And Wes told me, he said, Jay, you're not walking properly. Your body is built. And it was hurting. So finally he said, no, have an MRI done. We came back to Calcutta to cut the story short. MRI done, and he took me to Dr. Sandeep Chatterjee, one of the best neurosurgeons here, and operated on my back. And 2 months later, I was rock and rolling in CCFC. Thank you, Wes. So Leander, all the best to you. My buddy, all the best, and you take care. And I know you're a good golfer. Give me a few lessons on golf pretty soon. Thank you so much. Now to Arun.
Well, good evening.
First of all, I'd like to say that, you know, because he's homegrown, because we've seen him grow up and we've seen him in shorts, and I've said this in my first memory of Leander was at the CCFC, but the pads that he used to wear would come up to his cheeks, and when they flap, they would slap him. And that didn't bother him, and he was the bully, he was the leader. He had a gang of kids there who just loved rolling in the mud while there's football season or hockey season. And really, I just cannot, that's the only memory I have of him. But you know why I'm saying this is, because it's very easy for us to not understand this colossal achiever. To me, it's one of my greatest honors to be sitting here with him because of what his achievements are. And they're huge achievements. You know, it's very easy for us to forget that he's one of the best sportsmen this country has ever produced in the history of India. Yeah, he deserves this and more. We've all seen such great performers from India being the underdogs in a lot of sport, which is now being addressed. And yet you have these guys who come up and show us the way. So it's all about belief. It's about showing the way, raising the bar for the next generation. And he's our very own. Honestly, I count him as maybe the top 3 sportsmen ever produced by this country. And we're really grateful to you, Leander. Imagine being world champion 20-odd times. 30 years, the longevity of the career, the focus, the determination. You know, I can't tell you what I went through. Almost trauma to try and achieve whatever little I managed to. The sacrifices are unimaginable. You'll see most sports people having a peak and then fading out, not because they're not good enough anymore, but there's so much else happening in their life. Their perspective changes. You know, when you're, well, he was only 16, but when you're 20, 22, you are really going at it. You're passionate about it, and to the exclusion of all else, you can do that. But when you're 30, it changes. When you're 35, it's almost impossible. Your body is pulling you, your mind is taking you elsewhere. Your family is now, you know, there to look after. And yet you can be the world number 1. Hats off to you, Leander. Unbelievable, unbelievable. It's actually unbelievable. So what we have here is a true champion. And I loved what you said, Leander, about enthusing children, the next generation, and that's your future endeavor. I'm so proud of you, and I feel that, you know, whatever you put your mind to, you're going to achieve. Just like Joydeep said that, you know, if he had played cricket, he would be at the top. If he played football, he'd be at the top, because he was such a supreme athlete. So I feel really honored, delighted, blessed to be here, and thank you all for being here. I think it's a day that you will remember. And just a few questions from Leander to expound on how he's felt at various stages of his journey. You know, Leander, just tell us about, number 1, how did you stay so motivated? And how, second question, I always saw you with such extreme fervor while playing Davis Cup. Your achievements in Davis Cup are, again, mind-boggling. Was there any difference when you were playing for the country directly in Davis Cup, as opposed to when you were playing for, you know, your individual, though representing India?
The answer to that first question is, have you ever seen the size of my dad's hand? As a young teenager, I left home at the age of 12, 13, 14. And at that point of time, I knew that I was born into legacy. I felt the pressure of trying to emulate and live up to what my parents had done. My dad has some big shoes to fill in, as you know. So as a young boy, I embarked on saying, how can I make my hero proud of me? When I got to 20, I realized that playing in the Olympics was just so magical. Because I used to polish my dad's Olympic medal every Sunday morning after church. I would come back and sit with a little tin of Brasso and a dirty rag, and I'd polish this medal up, and I'd always ask him about, why are there 5 rings? And he said, the 5 rings are for the 5 continents we have in the world. I said, why are they different colors? And he said, they're different colors because the Olympic rings stand for different things. They stand for community, they stand for health, they stand for sport, they stand for competition, and so on and so forth. I said, yeah, but what is this angel on the ring? And rather than get really upset at me and show me his big hand again, he took the time to explain it to me. He said, this is the goddess of Athena, and she's the one who symbolizes the Olympic movement. He also went on to say that if you win an individual medal for India and for your people and for your flag, you could inspire many others. Today, as we just finished with the Paris Olympics, we came back with 6 medals. 5 of them are individual medals. The previous London Olympics, all of them were individual medals. But back in 1996, in the history of India, there was only 1 medal. So when I brought my individual medal back, it started a trend to inspire kids that, you know what, if he can, we can. And that is a great honor, to be able to inspire your people. It's the exact same thing playing Davis Cup and playing the Olympics and playing the Asian Games. It's so funny, playing the Olympics and Davis Cup was so important that I had forgotten that I had played 6 Asian Games too, and had won 9 medals there. But to play for the people was what I lived for. I got to say, the difference between playing at Wimbledon even, playing at the US Open or in a Grand Slam, let alone playing on court 117 in Fargana, Uzbekistan, was a completely different feeling than when I put the India blue on. When this kind gentleman whose son was in class with me came up and put this India flag on my chest, I gently requested him to put it on my left side, because I will always have the Indian flag on my heart.
Wonderful. Superb, Leander. You know, we all feel very tense before big occasions. How did you handle pressure, and that also for 30 years? I mean, tell us the secret.
Uncle Arun, I grew up playing gully cricket, gully football in Park Circus. You know, I used to take off my shoes to play with the street kids so I wouldn't step on their feet. Just because I was privileged that my parents could buy me shoes, I didn't want to take advantage of that. But for a few of y'all that have actually played gully football with those street kids, and when your shins clash against theirs, you realize how rugged those kids are. Today, our youngsters have tremendous pressure on them. For me, as a kid growing up, I don't feel pressure. I have never in my life felt pressure.
Wow.
My dad taught me 2 things. One was honesty. At every given time of your life, speak the truth, live the truth. That is your truth. Someone else's perception of you could be different, but when you can rest your head on your pillow knowing you spoke the truth, you don't have to worry.
Lee, I would ask you, first of all, another story. We wouldn't have that one medal which Leander got in Atlanta. It wasn't for me. You know what happened? We were staying in the Georgia Tech University. The village was there. So there was a fair, and Leander and Mahesh went to this fair somewhere. And there was a bomb blast or something happened in there. So I wasn't in the room. We had a suite. Me and the boxing coach was in one room, and Leander and Mahesh in the common bathroom. Suddenly, we had to take the bus at 8 o'clock in the morning. He had to play second round of singles. If you miss the bus, the next bus is 9. Your match is at 9:30, so you get scratched. I got up at 7:45, ready everything, just to go and open the door. Saw both of them fast asleep, and it's 8:45. I go and kick them. I said, "Get up! Get up! Put the shower." And Dhanraj Pillai was there. I said, "Go and get something from the Macy's, McDonald's downstairs." We ran from the where we were staying to the bus, and the bus was just leaving. I swear to God, we just got into it. Yes or no?
You know, you asked me about nerves. I'm just happy both these cats have kept it clean tonight. Because they know all my gundagiri since I was a little boy.
They went with the friends.
You know, the fun part about growing up in Calcutta is you were always protected by your aunties and uncles, always. So the amount of gundagiri you could do was just fantastic. I'll share one story with you. So I studied at La Martiniere. Home was Queen's Mansion on Park Street. Liaquat used to take me on this BSA SLR cycle. From home to school, from school to South Club back home. One day Liaquat showed up late. School finished at 1:20. 2 o'clock, Liaquat wasn't there. So now we were running late for practice. So in school, every day you had different subjects in school, but I hated making my school bag every day. So I had this huge safari suitcase with all my books every day. So I had this suitcase on the front bar handle, Liaquat was on the back, and with my ruler, I was tapping him on the back saying, "Jaldi chalo, jaldi chalo." And we were screaming down Theatre Road, because Theatre Road back then was two ways. We were screaming down Theatre Road. The tennis courts of Saturday Club were on my right. TMC office, TMNMC office was on my left. And that's where Uncle Arun and Dad used to work. Unfortunately for me, Liaquat was going so fast, and I kept on pushing him to go faster, and there was this black ambassador that was coming directly at us, and I kept on telling Liaquat, "Side se jao, side se jao." And this black ambassador, the more we cut left, it cut left with us. The more we cut left, it cut left with us. So I said, "Right se chalo." And as Liaquat pulled right, this black ambassador came and hit us. My bag went flying, books went open. I landed on the bonnet of the car. And me being as naughty as I was, not worrying about my own life, not worrying about Liaquat's life or the halat of the bike, when I realized I had found my balance, the windshield that was behind me, I smacked the windshield and said, "Kya kar rahe ho aap?" Only to realize it was my dad. The amount of hammering I got that day when I went home. So I'll never forget screaming past the Saturday Club courts here and Dad literally stopping traffic. The other one that I love about Saturday Club was that next to the tennis courts, you used to have a fridge. And the fridge there it was like an ice cream fridge where you could slide the doors. They had a padlock on the fridge. But unfortunately, fortunately for me, they did not realize that you could slide the door just enough to pull out a Cotton's ice cream soda. Every day I came to Saturday Club for practice, one ice cream soda would be pulled out.
So the ice cream soda made you Leander Paes finally. Huh?
I think Saturday Club helped me become. I think the culture at Saturday Club is what produces champions, and that's the fun part. The Saturday Club Carnival is something that would be wonderful to make it bigger and bigger. The Saturday Club Carnival produces so much of opportunity for youngsters to play, and I really think that Saturday Club Carnival can be a front runner for all the clubs around the country to learn from. Maybe one day we can bring clubs from around the country back here.
Leander, before we close, I wanted to ask you, I've seen you play a lot of great matches, especially singles all over. Which match would you consider your best singles match?
Jeez, that's a tough one, Uncle Jaideep. That's 39 years.
Sampras in Toronto?
No, I knew how to beat him. You know...
Goran?
Probably. I'll tell you a little secret about Sampras, right? Pete, to me, was one of the greatest servers in the world. I think his serve is even better than Federer's because Federer had a soft second serve. And that just showed when he played Djokovic in the final a couple years ago when he had match point and he served a double fault on one and he served a soft second serve at 30-40. Djokovic hit a return. But Sampras' serve was just really a weapon. But in 1998, Leighton Hewitt and myself were sharing a coach called Bob Carmichael that you helped organize. And I'd beaten Arnaud Butch in the first round, and I'd gone into the locker room for a shower. So I was in the shower, I had shampoo on my hair, and I was so happy I'd won the first match, knowing that the second round I had to play the winner of Pete Sampras and Leighton Hewitt. Halfway through my shower, someone had come to my shower and was banging on the glass. Open the door now. So I'm like, can I finish my shower? He's like, no, open the door now. So when I wiped the mist off the glass, I saw it was Leighton Hewitt, still with all his clothes on, going mad. So I said, Leighton, what just happened? Did you win? Are we playing each other? He goes, no, I'm really upset with myself. I was like, dude, you just lost to Sampras. What are you upset for? And he taught me a trick. He said that the reason he was upset at losing at Sampras was because Pete Sampras had the best and fastest serve in a straight line. So on the deuce court, he would serve down the tee to your backhand. On the ad court, he'd serve down the tee to your forehand, because the fastest point between A and B is in a straight line. But Pete Sampras, if he was ever under pressure and got down a break point, he would pretend to hit the flat serve down the tee, but as you start leaning towards the center, he'd flip it up high to your backhand, so you'd have no power, and as you step in, you hit the return, he'd play a forehand volley winner. Leighton Hewitt told me this trick. Now I'm thinking, yaar, ye sach keh raha hai ki nahi? Do I believe him or not? You know, you have your own conscience that plays tricks with you. So I said, okay, I finished my shower, I kept the note in my head. The next day I was playing Pete Sampras on center court at Yale University. First game, Pete Sampras, 40 love, he held his serve. Second game, 40 love, held his serve. Third game, 40 love, held his serve. Luckily, I was holding my serve too. But at 4-5 in the first set, somehow I got to break point. So it was 4-5, 30-40. I knew this was my only chance to break Pete Sampras in my life. I got to the ad court, I pulled my shorts up, kind of crouched down, ready to return his serve. And in the back of Pete Sampras, where he was ready to serve, right behind him, Leighton Hewitt was jumping like an ape.
Wow.
So I kept on looking at him saying, sit, he will know what's happening. He kept on jumping up and down. So I said, sit. He sat. Then I thought to myself, what have I got to lose? You got to trust somebody. And I believe life is more beautiful when you trust people, when you make them earn your trust, or when you earn their trust. It's not something that's just given, it's earned. So at 4-5, 30-40, I thought my only chance in my life to say I played against Pete Sampras. He tossed the ball up, and sure enough, it was going for a toss down the tee. So I leant in, and as I leant in, I could see Leighton doing this. So I quickly turned around, and I moved to my backhand, and sure enough, Pete arched his back and kicked it up high to my backhand. I was so surprised that muscle memory just made me hit a backhand winner. Pete was so surprised that he stared at me. I didn't know what to do, so I blew into my hand and walked off like I do it every day. Won the first set 6-4. The next set, again, he won his first 2-3 service games easily. And at 3-4 in the second set, the exact same thing happened. To cut a long story short, I've played Pete Sampras 4 times. I've never lost to him. It was harder keeping the secret and not telling him than to actually beat him. Because when you know what someone's going to do, when you know what their reactions are, life's easy, right?
Wow, that is some story. Wonderful, Leander. Also, talk us through the Olympics. You know, how was it? We've already heard about your preparation, oversleeping. That was one of my questions. How did you prepare for big occasions? Now we know. But tell us, just, talk us through the Olympics. Yeah.
So my first Olympics, I did not qualify for because I didn't have a ranking high enough. So I had to go to Osaka, Japan, to Kobe, and I played 3 matches in the monsoon months in Kobe. And when I qualified and came home, I said, Dad, now what do I expect? And Dad said, you must make it to the opening ceremony. You must spend time in the athletes' cafeteria, asking questions to the little gymnasts on what their training regime is, checking out the track and field athletes, what their diet is, looking at the dream team, Michael Jordan and Larry Bird and Magic Johnson were playing, and asking them about their recovery tricks that they know. My first Olympics in Barcelona was spectacular. Needless to say, I was always with the hockey team because of Dad's connection with them. I was always supporting the Indian hockey team. But I mingled with all the athletes in the village. When Ramesh Krishnan and myself beat the top seeds in the first round, Woodbridge and Fitzgerald, there was a surprise. When we beat the local favorites, Sanchez Casals, there was another surprise. And in the quarterfinal match, Uncle Arun, back then, as much as we were playing Goran Ivanisevic and Pirpic, we were playing for a medal. Because back then, there was a gold medal, silver medal, and both the losing semi-finalists got a bronze. We lost 7-6 in the final set to Goran Ivanisevic and Pirpic. And sitting here today, every human being has something they wish they could do better. What could I do better? Is to add a doubles medal to my showcase. I've lost the bronze medal match and the semi-finals and the silver medal match 4 times out of 7 world record Olympics I've played. Once with Ramesh Krishnan, couple times with Mahesh. We had match point in Athens. And at 15:40 with Mario Ancic serving, I called the play and said, Mahesh is definitely coming to my backhand because my backhand really sucks. He's not coming to my forehand on a big point. I'm going to hit a winner. He's coming to my backhand. I'm going to hit off backhand cross court. Lubicic, his partner, is going to try to cross. He's not going to get it. But that means Lubicic is in the center of the court. Ancic can only go cross court. So you cross, I will come up behind you just in case he plays it up the line. The play happened exactly that way. He served to my body backhand. I bunted it inside out. I have a little default on my backhand because I take it late. But in doubles, that's bought me a little real estate because by taking it late, it goes perfectly inside out, that the net person can't reach. Lubicic was crossing, he couldn't get it. Ancic had a low volley right at his shoelaces. I crossed, Ancic went cross court, and Mahesh forgot to cross. And when I went up to him after, I said, what happened? He goes, I froze, it was Olympics. And I said, don't worry, let's go again, because now they're serving 30-40. They served to Mahesh's forehand, and he hit one of the best returns down the line with Lubicic crossing again, and he hit the net cord. We got to another match point, a third one. And on this one, Mahesh hit a brilliant cross-court return. I moved forward, and I crossed. Ancic hit a half volley between his legs that flew high over me and landed on the back of the baseline. Sometimes I think we Indians believe in karma. Today you would not expect Roger Federer to not have a singles medal in the Olympics. but he has a gold medal in doubles. Most people would not expect me to have a singles medal in the Olympics, but I don't have a medal in doubles. So that's the one thing that maybe, just like every other human being, I feel I could do a little better.
Oh, so soul destroying, actually. That's what we love sports so much, Leander, because winning a medal and not winning could be a matter of millimeters. Yeah, and that's what actually happens. So that's why we love sport. That's why we want, the next generation all to play sport, not necessarily to win medals, but just to love sport and just to become a good human being and just to fashion yourself to handle life. So really, coming back to your endeavor, tell us more about that and how you intend to inspire the next generation.
So I'd like to share one story that Uncle Arun actually taught me in a locker room of sports club. I remember he was out there batting and his team needed 101 runs to win, and he scored 97 runs. He got out. The team lost by 1 run. I was destroyed. I can't even imagine what he felt, because I was the ultimate best mascot for them. I just loved them to bits. So when we came back in the locker room, Uncle Arun was taking his right pad off, and I was taking his left pad off, sitting on the floor between his legs. And I was asking him, I said, Uncle, I was so close. You played so well. You batted so well, but we could have won, And this wonderful champion turned to me and said, Beta, it happens sometimes. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But I'll never forget his next line. He said, if you play your best and try your best and do everything in your power to be the best that you can be, you will always be a champion. There are so many lessons that I've learned growing up with y'all, that even in Atlanta when Uncle Jaideep and Hesh and myself got to the opening ceremony and Muhammad Ali lit the flame, Mr. Ali at that point was riddled with Parkinson's and his hands were shaking, and the bow and arrow that he lit the flame was all shaking. It got there, the cauldron lit up, and things that dreams are made of. And then Uncle Jaideep and myself were going to the draw ceremony, and when we were walking to the draw ceremony, Mr. Ali was inside the village, the Olympic village, in a golf cart. So I went to shake his hand and pay my respects to him, because I remember when I was 10 years old, at a little fancy dress party, I won first prize because I was float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, because my name is Mr. Lee. So I went to tell him this story, and he fell in love with the story. That at the end of the week, Pete Sampras, who I was supposed to play in the first round, and when Uncle Jay and myself saw the draw at the stadium, the tennis stadium, I just looked at the draw and I could not believe that my eyes are pretty quick, so it took Uncle Jay a little time to get down the draw. But I already seen right at the bottom, Leander Paes, India, to play Pete Sampras, USA, first round. Now, I had prepared for 4 years. After I had lost in Barcelona, I had prepared for 4 years in playing in altitude conditions. We played in Brazil, in Belo Horizonte, in Brasilia, Sao Paulo. We played in Ecuador. We played in Colombia, in Medellin, Cali, Bogota. And I'd done these crazy things to prepare for this Olympics. And the draw showing you're playing Pete Sampras first round, it really kind of tests your mettle, it tests your mind, So Jaideep uncle looked at me and said, son, don't worry, Olympics is next 4 years.
I'll tell you about that. Sampras didn't show up for some reason, so he got to play Richie Renenberg.
The reason why Sampras didn't show up was that his clothing sponsorship, and I'm not taking names, you'll know which companies they are. His clothing sponsorship, which he was exclusively signed to, was not the clothing company of the US Olympic contingent.
So Richie Renenberg, and Richie was, I think, number 30 or what in the world. So I said, yeah. But if he wins that, okay. So I booked my ticket for New York. So he beats Richie in 3 sets. Then he plays this thing, Nicolas Pereira, Brazil, junior champion, world junior champion. Oh, he was very tough. He beats him. Then he plays, the third round, he plays Thomas Enquist of Sweden. This is the story in the dressing room, the locker room. Suddenly Leander comes to me and says, sir, I'm not feeling too well. You know, my balance is not there, you know. So I said, yeah, what happened? I called the physio. I said, he said, no, okay. So I spent, Mahesh came into the dressing room. What happened? I said, Mahesh, this is what to do. He said, don't worry, sir, today he'll play his best tennis. And he played his best tennis, beat Enquist 6-3, 6-2 or something. Then gets to quarterfinals. Quarterfinals is playing Furlong. And 4 days. Huh? The Renzo Furlong in Italy, who's also top 10 player those days. Beats him in straight sets. Then Agassi. Huge crowd. Agassi is coming on. What's his girlfriend? Brooke Shields was there. And and Leander was looking at Brooke Shields all the time instead of concentrating. Anyway, Brooke Shields was there, and so Leander played, and the way he was playing, really, that 4 matches he played, the best tennis I've seen him play. To beat the 4th guy, best singles player in the world in 4 days is no joke. And he lost to Agassi when he had 5-all. He had it chipped and came in. Agassi hit a forehand, 200 miles an hour. Desperate shot. Leander hit forehand volley. Hit it so hard and he hurt his wrist. And he couldn't even, luckily, could play the next day. But he could not, you know, we all know what happened.
So after we played that whole week and we won the medal, unfortunately after the Agassi match, the referee came to me and he said that, yes, I know you've injured your wrist, you're going to the hospital, you've got an MRI done, you've torn tendons in your wrist by 70%. But the bad news is that this year is the first year at the Olympics that we don't give a gold, silver, and 2 bronze. The 2 losing semifinalists have to do a playoff match day after tomorrow. So I ended up in a hospital. They did put a hard cast on me. Obviously, Dad was with me. I could not move my wrist for 2 days. Pain was too much. And the morning of the bronze medal match, I went back to the hospital. They cut the cast off. They put a soft cast around it. And when I came to the coach to practice, I've never seen Uncle Jaideep so worried because he's a real cool cat. Nothing moves him. He's really laid back, and he was a great Davis Cup captain to have on the bench because he was just chilled. He was relaxed, no tension. But that day I saw him worried because when I came to hit the first ball to Mahesh to warm up, the pain in my arm was so bad that I just started crying. And we had to stop practice, went back to the locker room. I spoke to the doctor. He said, you're going to jeopardize your career. You're still only 23 years old. You've got a whole life ahead of you. The Olympics is in 4 years' time. Don't play. I asked Dougie Spreen, the US physiotherapist. He said, Lee, just like I said at the Agassi match, you're going to jeopardize your entire career because now you've still got 30% left of that tendon. If you go and play, you might sever the whole thing and then it's surgery and it's off your playing wrist. I said, thank you. Cleared the room completely and I asked my dad, what do you think? Dad is not just an Olympic champion, not just a doctor of sports science, but I think he's one of the brightest, most educated people on human psychology. Dad walks up to me very confident, sits right opposite me, like about a foot away, and we're literally right at each other. And he goes, it doesn't matter what I think. We both know you're mad enough to play. The question is how. So 1, he cleared my doubt, whether I should or shouldn't. 2, he said, you're injured, right? It's your wrist. You've got your legs. You've got your heart. You've got your training, and you got your brain. Do you know if Melanjani's got an upset stomach? Do you know if Melanjani's feeling nervous? Do you know if Melanjani's in the other locker room throwing up? Do you know if Melanjani's injured or not? So spend the first 15 minutes assessing the match. And it brought me back to club 5-a-side sport. That Dad would actually play defense and assess the match for the first 10-15 minutes. And once he assessed the match, then he would start playing. I lost the first set to Melanjeni, really easy. I was down 1-2 in the second set. I was down break point. I managed to turn that around. I won the second set. And in the third set, when I was serving for the medal, I bounced the ball and I felt so much pain in my wrist at that point because I just come out of the zone. We athletes have a thing called the zone. Both of them will tell you about it. I'm sure each of you all have experienced magic at times. It's when the human body, mind, and soul come together. And happens only very few times to most people. But we athletes are trained to replicate it over and over and over again. That's what our coaches try and teach us. To stay disciplined, to have a regular routine, to eat, sleep at the same time, to practice at the same time. So that replication got me into the zone for a while, but when I served for the match, I got out of the zone and my eyes welled up and I looked over at my dad. And he was in the first row right next to me. It's the biggest match of a young Indian Calcutta boy's life. And this man was so clear. He just looked me dead straight in my eyes. There were 23,000 fans in the stadium. There's probably the better half of 1 billion people watching on TV. But Dad looked me straight in the eye and he said, focus on the court. That was it. He did not speak a word. He just went that and that. I hit 5 first serves, played 5 first volleys. When the last ball went over my head that you saw in the first video, Melanjeni hit a lob over my head. I put my hands up, not in jubilation that I just won India's first Olympic medal, individual sport, but I put my hands up for that same little boy from Calcutta who every time someone did not believe in him, that he stood up. Every lonely night he had away from his parents, he persevered. Every hardship that life threw at me, that I got through it. Today I have a scar on my left chest. I got mugged in New York back in 1991 in the winter, because New York was still a rough city at that time. I didn't have money to stay in a nice apartment or hotel, so I was staying in the locker room of the US Open. And I was taking a train back into the city, and it was 10:30 in the morning, broad daylight, and a homeless person wanted my tennis shoes, because tennis kit is generally quite flashy, quite nice. And he just got me with a bottle, stuck me with a bottle on my chest. So I have 23 stitches right here, and every morning when I brush my teeth, it reminds me of how tough this world can be. So for that young kid who stood up for himself, who was a gentleman every time he needed to be, who was rugged and never let someone take his lunch money, who always earned his respect wherever he went around the world, because he knew that playing a sport like tennis, we brownies, as we're known, weren't even allowed to play tennis 30, 40 years ago. Uncle Jaideep was not allowed to play the finals of Davis Cup against South Africa because they stood up for apartheid, and I think that's wonderful. But for that young kid who stood up for himself every time, that's why I put my hands up. And then when I won the medal and I came back to the village, Juan Antonio Samaranch, who was the Olympic president at the time, he brought Muhammad Ali to meet me. And I'm like, I'm from Pak Circus, Mr. Ali. And he comes up and Mr. Ali, was shaking with his Parkinson's. So I leant in towards him. And when I leant in towards him, he came and gave me a kiss on my cheeks. And then he took his big fist and he put it on my chin. And he said, "You won a medal for India." And he spoke so softly that I had to lean in. And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "You can inspire a nation that if you can be a champion, you are a short man. Anyone can be a champion." And on saying that, Mr. Ali gave me his Atlanta Olympic torch. The torch that they presented him, he gave to me. And I have that at home in Orlando. And to think of being that same young kid, exuberant, stealing ice cream sodas from the fridge here, which I'm sure is going to be on my next month's bill, and growing up in the streets of Calcutta, that Mr. Ali gave me his torch. It shows what champions are about. They're about big heart. They're about earning respect. So Mr. Ali will always be one of my favorite heroes in my life, because not just he stood for humanity by not going to Vietnam and fighting a war, but he also stood for every young kid who had a hope in their heart and a dream in their mind. So I would like to pay tribute to him today.
God, that's really emotional, Leander. Not many of us knew what you went through, and you've really come out a greater champion, at least in my mind. Such adversity to overcome is unbelievable. And before I ask you another question, I want to pay tribute to your father. You know, you talked about a fridge. Here's a man who, when I came to Calcutta as a young boy, I was staying in a little garage and servant's quarter, and I moved in there, and I didn't have money for anything. And Doc was part of our company, and I was looking for a loan from the company to be able to buy a fridge. And he heard that, and I was told that, you know, I was not allowed a loan at your level at the moment. So the next day, he sends a fridge from his home. He sends a fan, which I used for many years, and he sent a little music system to furnish my little home. And I asked him, I said, where did you send the fridge from? He says, no, don't worry, Arun, I've got two, one for my medicines and one for home, and medicines don't matter. No, I'm just joking. But I had that fridge, and I tell you, it's not only about winning medals, it's about being the human being that you are. And that's probably something that stands out. At the end of the day, you know, medals are there, achievements are there, but what really stands out is the humaneness of the man. And hats off to you, Doc, not only for being yourself, but for Leander Paes. Please, a big round of applause. We really love you here in Calcutta, Doc. And thanks for everything that you did for me. And it's not only that, it was playing five-a-side with him, and like he said, he taught me huge amounts. I'll tell you a little story. Doc was, of course, central half of India, and he had a strategic mind, and he could understand play. And somehow we were playing this final at the CCFC, and we took our sport very seriously. All of us here sitting on the stage, you can't get us to a sports field and tell us to have fun. We want to win, you know, so that sets you apart. So there we were, one colossal figure, Doc Paes, and four of us who had never played hockey before, or had played it at school level. And we were playing against a team called MMC, which had three current India hockey players. Current India hockey players. And the kind of guys who would, you know, have a dribble right across you. And they were so good that it didn't matter to us. Normally we would go with them, but we wouldn't move, so they found it very difficult to pass us. But to cut a long story short, because of Dr. Paes, we won that match. And that was probably one of the great achievements of my life. And the fun time that we had, I think the happiest time I've spent at the CCFC growing up as a little kid is playing those five-a-side hockey and football matches. Hockey we were really good at because of Dr. Paes, and we did win a couple of times, but those were really not only very happy days, but something that taught me huge amounts, not only helped me in my sport, but helped me in my life. So we count Dr. Paes as a guru. Thanks, Doc, for being yourself here. Wonderful. Finally, Leander, you talked about overcoming injury. And that is something spectacular, playing that match with, you know, not even half a tendon. So it's got to do with the mind. So how do you assess for the next generation technique versus mind? Where does it all fit in? And how did you ramp up your mind for those occasions?
I think technique is very individual, because sometimes in a sport like tennis or in any sport, you have people's sporting technique doesn't necessarily relate to their personality. Bjorn Borg was so aggressive and in the locker room always shouting, screaming, laughing, but when he played on the court, he was silent. You wouldn't get a peep out of him.
Wow, we didn't know that.
Same like Roger Federer. Roger Federer is the biggest prankster in the locker room. Do not be surprised if a jack-in-the-box comes out of your locker when you open it. That's him. Do not be surprised if your racket strings are cut or chewing gums put on them. That's him. Do not be surprised if he's mimicking Rafa's blow-drying in the locker room while Rafa's walking around. That's him. But when he got on the court, he was so disciplined to what he needed to do to achieve his craft. So technique is very personal. Physical fitness is a prerequisite, because I feel that tennis as a sport is probably the most difficult sport in the world. You got to move at top speed in all directions, not just front and back, not just laterally, but even at angles. You got to be able to jump and then at the same time rotate and coil and create power, all the while that's just one shot. You got to hit 1 million of them. Correct. And that's where the mental side comes in, is that I feel that, especially with the young kids today, the amount of pressure they have on themselves, board exams, 10 standard, 12 standard, peer pressure, social media pressure. Nowadays on WhatsApp, if you don't answer somebody within the first 30 seconds, they're like, hello, where you at? So the pressures of society for these young kids are immense. And I think that the mental side of life is what I've been blessed to have learned from all of you and from my parents. I feel like the ratio between technical, which I'd give about 7 or 8%, physical fitness, I'd give about 15%, 20%, and then the mental side of it, I'd give about a good 75%. Because when you're, especially for us Indians, because we're very family-oriented, we're very home-oriented. When you leave home at the age of 11, don't have money for a hotel, too shy to ask an Australian or an American or an Italian if I can share their room, guess what? You're living in a locker room. I've lost my bags at Frankfurt Airport 3 times in my career, never to get them back again. Just lost everything. And it's not like we can buy our shoes from the next shop. They're all customized. The insoles are customized. Just like your bats were customized, our tennis rackets are customized. You can't just pull one off the rack. So that is even before you step on the court. When you step on the court, you know, the average height of a tennis player was 6'1" in the 90s, 6'2" in the 2000s. Today, the average height of a tennis player is 6'4". I'm 5'10" on a good day. You know.
That's one of the reasons why, you know, game has changed completely. I think every 10 years or so, the game changes. Today, what we used to play in the 70s, like it's a serve and volley. Now you see the Wimbledon center court, any court in Wimbledon. When we used to play, by the time the second week comes, the front part was ball, baseline was green. But now you see, the baseline is ball, and the net, because even now, even the top players, I don't think Djokovic or any of the top players can't volley as good as Leander, because they don't know how to volley. I'm saying a big statement coming from Djokovic or Nadal just comes in now, chips at volley, but they don't, like so many times when I watch television, they chip and come in and get inside the court. They've got the whole court to finish it off. But that's us missing.
Tell me one thing, or tell us one thing, Jyoti. Why did tennis change from serve and volley even on a grass court, now everybody's just hugging the baseline.
See, what happened in 70s, 60s, 70s, is serve and volley. Because grass court was not, it's very fast. Wimbledon has made a special grass now. Court much slower. The balls are heavier. These are serve and volley is completely gone. Imagine Nadal receiving serve at Wimbledon, 7 feet behind the baseline. In RDV serve, you can slice him up completely, he's out. I remember I played Lou Hode. He came up at Wimbledon first open. So I was just Davis Cup challenge round. He came back and I was court number 2, the old court number 2. So I said, it was first match, 2 o'clock, 1:30 match. I said, yeah, first ball, I slice, win the first point, you know. I said, slice. And he's a big guy. Big guy means he was blonde and hadn't played Wimbledon. And he just went like twinkle toes, went there, and just passed me, love 15. So I said, God, I got a match in my hands now. that sort of thing was, it's just serve, quick, come. And I think that's also a different charm. I mean, like, grass court was completely different to clay. And today, I have done well in clay. For example, in Europe, I did last 16 of French. You don't have to have very good strokes. You have to have average stroke. Even the backhand could be weak, but you have strong legs. And I'm just saying in your mind, I'm going to stay on the court and rally. Because there was no hitting those rackets we had. And nowadays, from the back of the court, you're hitting 100 miles an hour. Those rackets we just slice. One rally is going on for 30, 40 times. Jack to bob, bob to jack. So it's a different game altogether. But I think that game was good for us Indians, all of us, because we had the touch, we had the finesse. Like in India also in cricket, we are batting like Vishwanath, Gavaskar, or the different class of bad people can't watch Vishwanath play square cut, isn't it? Huh?
Yeah. Okay. One more thing. How different was changing from clay to, grass, and then going on to the U.S. Opens, and so did it make a huge difference physically, mentally?
Yes, it did. Back in the day, the grass courts used to have mud underneath. So there was 6 to 8 feet of mud underneath, and then the top surface of top 6 inches of grass, so the ball would bounce really low. Especially if you played the first match at Wimbledon, there would be a lot of dew on the court, so it bounced really low. During the day, as the sun would rise and get hotter, the ball used to bounce between your calves and your hips. But because of the weather conditions and global warming and things like that, they've resurfaced the courts. Now at Wimbledon, 6 feet underneath is concrete with a brilliant draining system. So that even no matter how much rain that falls, the grass courts dry up quick. Also, with the concrete underneath and only a foot of mud, they've put a special type of grass in there that they polish. And they polish it with the resin, so when all of us watch it on TV, you see these lines, it looks like a billiard table. The grass looks like velvet. But nowadays, the ball, when it bounces at Wimbledon, it bounces between your hips and your shoulders. So back in the day where you saw Ivanisevic win, Rafter win Wimbledon, you saw Sampras win, Navratilova win, the serve and volleyers would win. Nowadays you watch Alcaraz win, Djokovic win, Leighton Hewitt win, baseliners get to win. And I think that the big difference in most sports today is the equipment. If I look at the tennis ball as well, the tennis ball has become so much heavier. Just having moved back to Calcutta now, I'm redoing my home, and a lot of my memorabilia is coming back, and I had this huge suitcase of all these tennis balls of Grand Slams that I've won. And last night when I was going through them, I saw the last one that I won in 2016. I could not wrap my fingers around the ball, it was so big. Whereas the first one that I had won in 1990, I could not see the ball because my fingers just wrapped right around it. So the size of the felt, you know that yellow felt? Yellow felt was used at Wimbledon only in 1972 because Uncle Jaideep and the older players used to play with a white tennis ball. And back then, they felt that the first time that colored TV came, we were still stuck with Doordarshan, you know, and with those two antennas that you had to move to make sure the picture was clear. But when colored TV came, they could not see the white tennis ball on the TV, so then they switched to a yellow fluorescent ball. So the game has changed so much, and I'm sure that in cricket as well, you must see it the way the bats bow now. The bats are not straight anymore, they bow, and then you have the red ball and the white ball and the different kind of pitches that we play. In India, it's spin pitches. In Australia, it's bouncy pitches. I think that sport today has become such a competitive way of life that I'm so happy to see that tennis as a front runner is still one of the only sports to have equal prize money for girls and for boys, to have equal opportunity for girls and for boys, is to have equal scholarships in school for girls and for boys. And I think that it's really important to encourage our children to play sport, as you so beautifully said, not just to win championships and medals and trophies and prize money, but also for feel-good hormones, good endorphins, dopamine, happiness. I think that's what our sports culture in the clubs in Calcutta is all about also, is to go out and play sport. You know, I can look around this room, and if I look at Harjyoti in the back and how much golf she used to play and sport she used to play, I look at Ashira, who is in the middle here, she plays golf. If I look at so many of all of us here, squash, I'm hoping to start squash with my buddy back there and play more. And I just think that club culture is a great way to encourage the children to live a good quality of life.
Thank you so much, Leander. It's been a pleasure, an honor, a matter of pride for me to be here with you, and we've really enjoyed this very much. May you go on from strength to strength, and you have the backing of all of us, if not overtly, certainly from the heart. Thank you so much for being Leander Paes. Yeah.
Thank you, Leander. Thank you, Joydeepda. Thank you, Arun. Thank you for being with us this evening. It has been a proud moment for all of us. And may I request the audience to please be seated for just another minute. We have something to show you, which Leander did touch upon some time back. And I'll just ask Tejbir to come up and take it on from here. We'll be done in 1 minute.
Thank you, Vibhash. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening again. We have one more short program lined up for you, although it has been planned at very short notice. It is the official opening of the renovated tennis wall at Saturday Club. In this context, I take this opportunity to narrate a short story about the tennis wall. In the early 80s, some 40 years ago, a young Leander Adrian Paes was often seen playing tennis on the wall on clay court number 1. Over the years, Leander improved his tennis, climbed up the tennis rankings at the national and international level. The rest is history. While Leander was traveling the world, the tennis wall stood the ground over the 40-odd years, surviving the vagaries of nature. Now, fast forwarding to 2024. A few months ago, our tennis team, comprising of the tennis captain, the co-captains, they initiated a proposal for restoring and renovating the tennis wall with pictures of tennis legends, including that of our own member, Leander. This was ably supported by the President, the Vice President, and the sports convener. And in no time, we had a renovated tennis wall. I took a photograph of the renovated tennis wall and sent it to Leander. On 24th of May 2024, to be precise, my phone rang and Leander's name was flashing on the screen. Now, this is something rare for most people. It's the other way around. We call him. He conveyed his desire to play on the same tennis wall after a gap of 40-odd years. Sensing that history was repeating itself, I requested Leander if I could take a video clipping or video recording of his play. So let me just show you. May I request to kindly have the video on, please? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm aware that Leander is extremely attached to this tennis wall. He has briefly spoken about his tennis experience at Saturday Club. But Leander, may I request you to say a few more words about your experience at the Saturday Club tennis courts.
So you know these ice cream soda story, right? What Tejbir didn't tell you is right behind that wall is a mango tree. And every time the ball would get stuck in the meshing above the wall, they would bring out a ladder that you had to climb to get the ball, except I would stay on a little longer to pull some mangoes down. But that wall actually has been a lucky wall for me. At the age of 6, Dad and me won the father and son, parent and child tournament. And I had to, most other kids would have their parent to warm up with. And because Dad was running around doing medicine and looking after his friends and patients in the city, that wall became my practice partner. I would warm up against that wall. Then as I got a little better, I came back to the wall and I would play against it. As I won Junior Wimbledon, I'd come back to that wall and play against it. As I won Senior Wimbledon in '99, I would come back to that wall and play against it. And this continued through my career. I grew up in a beautiful era of seeing my senior generation have so much character and grounding, and then grew up to an era of YouTube that actually, and social media that documents all of this. So I'm going to ask Tejbir for this video that he so naughtily recorded. And tomorrow I'm going to give a big shout out to Saturday Club for this wonderful honor and post that video up. But I think every athlete has a certain place of solace, a certain place that's very sacred. And for me, it's within the lines of a tennis court. And this very wall is a big reason why I am who I am today, just for the sure repetition of it.
Thank you, Leander. Ladies and gentlemen, please give the tennis legend Leander Paes a standing ovation. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. May I now request all present to kindly proceed to the tennis court area for the official opening of the renovated tennis wall by Leander in the presence of our President, Mr. Shai Gupta, Vice President, Mr. Sanish Magon, sports convener, and our distinguished guest, Mr. Arun Lal, and Mr. Jaideep Mukherjee, and all present today. Please come towards the tennis court. Thank you.